When you mentioned that you turned down 3 job offers before you accepted your 4th, was that were they all kind of intertwined? And like, it seemed like your process was sort of long, or you?
They were all incredibly different. One was for a wine sales rep in Hilton Head. One was for a finance company in Chattanooga. And one was also for an insurance company in Chattanooga.
So time-wise, I'm asking, did you get one and say, oh, I don't want that job, and return it down before you knew your?
I had a job offer January of my senior year, and turned that one down and just continued down the process. And then the other one was about 3 weeks before graduation. And then actually, I got the job offer for the insurance company in Chattanooga while I was in Charlotte riding around the route truck. And I used it as leverage for Royal Cup and said, listen, I have this job offer and they're offering me X. How bad do you want me? Because I was trying to speed along the process. I've been on all these different pieces. I don't recommend that. That probably wasn't the smartest move. But I really was, saying that this is, what's happening. Do you really want me? Can we move this along? Because I'm being competed for. So, and then the next week they offered me the job. So.
I had a similar experience with law firms, and law firms, if you're in the same industry, whatever it is, Royal Cup versus Starbucks, or I don't know who your competitors are, and you say, well, I'm interviewing with Royal Cup next week, but I'd love to come in Thursday if that would work. All of a sudden, it's less. I found this when I was in Seattle interviewing with 3 different law firms. When I told them I'd gotten the first interview, the other 2 firms, at that point, they didn't really care as much about who Henry Burt was. They were like, he's got the grades, he's got the work, he's got the degree, he'll be fine. They were trying to sell me because they sure didn't want Perkins Coie again. And that tends to be sort of the insanity of a law firm. We can talk about that later, but there is sometimes that kind of, you never know what will take charge of that process. It's sort of a crazy thing. Sure.
I'm sure there's some other people here in the same boat, but I'm applying for a fellowship right now, and I won't hear back until March. And that would change my next year's plans entirely. So how do I handle that? But I still want to go through this process in case that doesn't work out, or for when I come back. So how do I handle that when I'm interviewing and talking with people about job offers and things?
I could just keep interviewing. I mean, you really don't know what's going to happen next. I don't know where the fellowship is for, but.
I mean, should I tell them there's a possibility that I won't be here next year, or?
No. I mean, you
don't take a risk on it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you just say that this is the job I want, and then if you have that opportunity come up, then they can determine if they're willing to wait for you to come back or do whatever. But you apply for that job, not what circumstances may come up in 6 months.
Making your decision, not theirs.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
What's the best way to turn down a job?
Do what?
Turn
Turn down a job.
Like, I don't want to burn any bridges.
Right. Yeah, well, that's exactly right. That's it. It's not burning bridges.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was, for each one of them, it's not the right place at the right time for me, and I feel like I can get better experience some other place. It wasn't, I hate your company, and I had a really bad experience here. It was always leaving the door open, but that you just felt this was not the right time, the right place for me. I mean, very generic answers are easy to give them.
Did you go in person, write a letter?
They were all in phone, and then I wrote a letter following up saying thank you so much, and we'll continue to stay in touch for future opportunities. So it was still very open-ended afterwards.
Yes, sir.
I had a question. You talked earlier about how resumes don't really stand out because you get so many from so many different applicants. My question is about the role of cover letters, which come along with those resumes, and whether it's just simply to demonstrate your writing ability, or if it's an opportunity to truly sell yourself because the employer puts a lot of stock in those. I want to know your insight.
I put a lot of stock in send a cover letter if I get the cover letter and it's not a resume coming either from a human resources person saying check out this person. I put a lot of stock in the cover letter because what I do has a lot of writing involved and communication. And so I think it's important, but you better make sure that it is very well written, and it can be 1 paragraph. That's okay. If it's well written, it makes a huge difference because a resume is. It's hard to demonstrate writing capability in a resume, and I'm never certain if you wrote your own resume. You might have hired a consultant to write it for you, and maybe you hired a consultant to write the letter, but I will pay attention to a letter and those thank you notes. And if I don't, you must send a thank you note, and it does need to be well written, so send it, and, reread it and rewrite it 20 times.
It needs to be hammered,
Yes,
I think.
the same thing for cover letters is, I think they're really important.
I do handwritten thank you notes. I don't always get handwritten thank you notes, but that's okay with me if it's well written. I guess I may be giving consideration to the generational differences.
Yeah.
And I don't know what you were being told, but I'm not sure that everybody sends a handwritten thank you note. Liz is frowning at me. I'm not sure what the rules are. I'm not sure, but I will accept a very well written email with a thank you note. And yeah, and I'm in.
Well, that's the thing, California, applying for a job in California and or Seattle is worlds different than applying for a job in old Richmond, Virginia, I'll tell you that.
And big companies versus small. Like we work with clients where they can't take a resume. They have an online application, and they want to gather the same amount of information from every single person. If they start taking resumes, then it's apples and oranges. So it standardizes the process. It makes it, you're not legally an applicant until you fill out an application. So they have that, and there's no place in that for a cover letter oftentimes. So you just have to go along with their process sometimes with a large company.
Last question.
That was a thing that when you said bringing water, I guess, what other things do you think that a must-have for bringing?
Well, have a copy of your resume for you and for the person sitting across from you, because inevitably what happens when things are busy is I'll have interviews scheduled, people will schedule them for me, I'll have to run from one meeting to another meeting, and I'll walk in and realize I don't remember who I'm meeting with, and I don't remember who we went to. And if you say, hi, I have a copy of the thing, and just put it in front of me, a Xerox copy, and have yours, so when I'm asking, because if you only bring one copy, even though you think that I have your resume, so you bring one copy and you give it to me, and then I say, now down here where you say, now what do you mean by this? I want you to be able to look at what I'm talking about and talk with me about it, because I'm going to go through it. Hopefully I've gone through it ahead of time and I already have specific questions to ask you, but I'll be honest, I don't always. And that's actually how I see how you interact with me, and this is the pace of how we work, and are you rattled by it, or is this okay? Okay, you're just going to improvise with me, and we're going to go. And that's part of the process, seeing how you react to me.
Depending on the length of it, a granola bar or something, I mean, you may, after an hour and a half of sitting there feeling like you're under the gun, is to be able to take 3 bites of something to sort of pick you up. I mean, it can, depending on the interview, it can be a quick 1 hour. It can be, interviews in a law firm, you're coming back 3 1-hour interviews in the morning, 3 1-hour interviews in the afternoon, a lunch that is in fact an interview, and it's intense, and so that kind of thing.
Yeah, and not taking that out, like, in the.
No, I wouldn't eat it in the interview, but you may have
No.
to, after you get out of that meeting, you may not.
Maybe a breast break.
If you are interviewing for a PR job, a marketing job, where there are press releases and media communication involved, bring a writing sample. And if you haven't ever written a press release, think of something you'd love to announce to the world, read a news article, and decide to write a mock press release for that. Because I'll probably ask you to do that if I like you and I'm going to bring you back for a second interview. I'm going to want writing samples anyway, and I give you an assignment if you don't already have them. So, that kind of thing is important for the kind of work you would be doing if you were coming to work for me. That would be important to me if you'd have a writing sample, or if you're going for a job that's got graphics and production and you do all these really cool things. I might not want to see all of your personal stuff, but if you have something you did an internship last year, keep it in your bag. I might ask you to show me some stuff. And if you'll have it handy, a portfolio of your work, and even a few things. But don't necessarily pull it all out at first, but let's see how the conversation goes.
I agree with that. Taking your writing sample, or if you've done something that you're proud of, just keep it and let's